So, the Red Dead Online beta updates DLC thing has been released. As you can probably hear by the tone of my voice, I'm upset, disappointed, and you name it, and that's the emotion I'm currently feeling. I just came off a stream of about 2.5 hours, trying to kind of test out all the new content and whatnot, but I was left with a lot of why, Rockstar, why? The reason for this is because the majority of the content, basically 95%, is being drip-fed. Now, I know we're, used to this when it comes to GTA Online, and typically I'm okay with it. Especially for me as a content creator, it's extremely convenient to have content being spread out. Every single week I will be able to have a new video, have something new to explore inside of Red Dead Online, and typically I don't really mind the whole model as itself. I know a lot of people are against the whole Dripfeed model to have, content being spread out as much as it has. But I personally feel like in GTA Online, if you have a good base content, not nightclub that was handled poorly. And prior to that, you had a bunch of content already that you're able to play. And then, over the weeks, more and more stuff got added, like adversary modes, etc., etc. However, in Red Dead Online, it's the exact opposite. We have been waiting for literal 4 months for this online to come out, and for us to finally be able to play Red Dead Online and some new content in it. Unfortunately, in Red Dead Online, Rockstar has decided to do the exact opposite and decide to release content for a game that already didn't really have much content, but do it in such a way which will surely piss off pretty much everyone that is, actually still somewhat invested inside of the game. This feels like a huge step in the back by releasing only the daily challenges, and to even go as far, and that's the thing that particularly ticked me off, and to have a daily challenge inside of these daily challenges, and do keep in mind you get a bonus for completing all of them, to have the Evans repeater inside of those challenges. Now you might be thinking, oh well, the Evans repeater got released today, right? No, it didn't. It didn't get released today. It's gonna come out later, even though on the initial Newswire post they said that it would be available through the online catalog and also the gunsmith. One of the first things that I did and tried to get was, of course, that Evans repeater. It was one of the main things that I was excited about to try and test out, because it was a weapon that returned from Red Dead Redemption, and I was really excited to check out how it performed and all that good stuff. It's not there. The only weapon I got added today was the rare shotgun, which essentially is a reskin of the double barrel shotgun. It also is in single player. There isn't really that much difference between the two guns at all. It just looks a little bit different, and it's still a double barrel shotgun. Now, if it was the other way around, I would have been a bit more okay with it, because then at least you got a new bit of content, and at least you could play the existing game modes with a brand new weapon. However, not the case. Fuck you, just wait until next week or whatever. New game modes that they announced as well, like Fool's Gold and the target races and the fishing challenges, what I initially thought was going to be added today, wasn't there either. That's going to start happening from next week on. Next week, we're going to see Fool's Gold, and then looking ahead, they're going to add more and more new stuff every single week. Like target races comes the week after, then fishing races, then Up in Smoke, Spoils of War, and then Plunder. Which essentially means that we're looking at about 7 weeks or whatever of drip-fed content inside of the game. Clothing, for the majority of it, is being drip-fed as well. Emotes are also added to the game too, but they cost about $100 each. And then you get a set of 3 or whatever, and then you can, start using those. Personally, I feel that it probably should have been more free, or at least be able to all purchase them separately instead of having to purchase a pack, which is about $100 to $150. I personally don't see the appeal to emotes. However, the other side of it is that you have now something that you can invest into and use your money for. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So it's, I guess, it's a good or a bad thing, depends on how you look at it. Though I feel that emotes are essentially the exact same thing as you have in GTA Online and into your interaction menu. They were also all added free, so I don't really see why you would want to change that in Red Dead Online, but I guess here we are. Having said that, the daily challenges, as far as I've tested, they do dash out some pretty good rewards, if you don't mind me saying. Essentially what you can earn every single day from the separate challenges themselves is 10 gold nuggets for each objective that you complete, and also 200 XP, which I feel is a pretty good bonus in my opinion. I haven't seen all of them yet. Hell, I can't complete all of them because I need the Evans repeater, which is not even out yet. And yes, that still pisses me off. Anyway, I'm curious to see what the daily objectives are going to look like. As far as I personally had, I had to catch a fish, I had to play some game modes, I had to get some headshots, essentially just basically encouraging you to play a variety of different activities within the game, which I found, of course, that is the main goal of the daily challenges. They encourage you to play and check out more things, and also reward you for doing so at the same time. Another nice thing about the daily challenges compared to GTA Online is that you get rewarded for completing individual challenges, compared to GTA Online where you had to complete all 3 of them before you even got the reward for it. So I think that's a good step in the right direction. Outside of my disappointment with all that stuff, they have added a bunch of new things to the game as well in terms of actual fixes and patches themselves. The jawbone knife is something that is exclusive to the PS4. You can also pick it up right now, which is available at the fence. It's about $140, I believe. Alongside that, there's also 177 new clothing tints added for the male and female characters. So if you have existing clothing and you wanted to give it a different look, there's a high possibility that there are new options for that available as well. You can easily recognize those by looking up the catalogs instead of the tailor, and then you will be able to see the new options tag, and you'll be able to easily see which stuff is new and which isn't. In terms of balancing stuff, there's a lot of interesting things happening there too. All the weapons got a slight reduction for the range at which players can achieve a critical damage for headshot. So for example, you know, it was getting quite ridiculous how far you could get headshots with like a revolver, for example. This should be less likely to happen now as well. The varmint rifle got some nerfs attached to it. They've increased the accuracy spread when distracted to bring the weapon in line with other fast-firing long-arm weapons, and they also reduced the lock-on range, and they increased the damage dealt to the body and limb shots on other enemy players. Gtamen and the rolling block rifle both had their damage greatly increased, so if you were someone that were using that weapon a lot, then you know they're now a little bit more powerful. Also a bunch of changes to ability cards. For all Deadeye cards, Deadeye will no longer give you perfect accuracy except if you're using the painted black card. For the ability card Short Game, the required distance to an enemy has been reduced, with damage dealt increasing the closer the player gets the enemy. The ability also becomes active for 2 seconds when damaging an enemy nearby. Peak Condition got a change to where the sprinting now drains less stamina at all tiers. The maximum damage bonus has been reduced, and the damage bonus also now scales with the fill percentage of the stamina tank. The ability comes active for 2 seconds and when the stamina is below full. Slow and Steady got an update as well where the Deadeye will be drained when damage is being taken, and the Eye for an Eye ability will now work when the player is in Deadeye. Deadeye given on each headshot has been reduced at tier 2 and tier 3 to allow consistency with other ability cards, and Deadeye will only be granted if you headshot an enemy. The Blinking Eye will now become active whenever you're in Deadeye or in Eagle Eye, and for the Winning Streak ability card, that will become active for 2 seconds when you're damaging an enemy. Also changes to free roam events. For the free modes events Cold Dead Hand, Dispatch Rider, and King of the Castle, all the player counts for that has been reduced to 16 players. And then specifically for Cold Dead Hands, players will now be able to only hold the bag for 1 consecutive minute until it will be forcefully respawned. Players will now also receive 1.5 times the normal points for carrying the bag during the final minute of the event, and 2 bags will respawn instead of 1 during the event, and locations have also been updated. Dispatch Rider also getting some updates, which by far was everyone's least favorite free mode event because it was horribly unbalanced. Luckily it did get some update because now when a player mounts the objective horse, they will be invulnerable and cannot be targeted for a short time. Their health, stamina and Deadeye tanks will be refilled, and their cores will be overpowered for 60 seconds. The objective horse will also not be able to be spooked, run out of stamina or become incapacitated. And alongside that, there is a ginormous amount of fixes to the game, which well, I'm just going to be honest, I'm not going to read all of them. If you want to read it for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description down below to all the fixes. I just pinpointed out the highlights of the update, so you can maybe be a little bit less disappointed with the way they handled it. There's a lot of good stuff to this update in terms of fixes and general improvements. The way I think they should have handled this update is have a good layer of content first, and then add on top of that with more Dripfeed. If they were to have added the Evans repeater to the game alongside of some new game modes like a new showdown mode, also like at least the fishing challenges and also the new free mode event, then it would have been fine. You know, you got a bunch of new things that you can play around with. It's worthwhile to log into, and it's just not only the daily challenges, but right now, the way they're going to handle it, every single week they're going to add one little thing again and again. I'm just a bit upset about it. I really hope that there was going to be, you know, a bunch of things to play, that we're going to, you know, finally see some new life in Red Dead Online, but unfortunately that's not the case. But next week we'll hopefully see our very first new bit of content added to Red Dead Online. And this was just like the big quality of life thing that we're starting off with, and we're gonna hopefully gradually get more and more content in Red Dead Online. But for the time being, this is it. This is just what my thoughts are. Obviously, let me know what yours are. Do you think this is a good way to handle it, or do you think this is the worst thing of all time? Let me know in those comments down below. But as far as the video, that was it for this one. Thank you also very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all later.